It's another edition of our program Capital Markets. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Temple Ashaju. Now, President Muhammadu Buhari finally arrives Abuja after 103 days in London, United Kingdom, where he had been receiving medical attention since May the 7th. The president's jet Eagle One touched down at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport about 4:38 p.m. this evening. On hand to receive him were the acting president, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, members of the Federal Executive Council, and the National Security Advisor, Babagana Mungunu. Others are the Chief of Staff, Abba Kyari, governors of Imo State and Bauchi states, Mr. Roches Okorocha and Muhammad Abubakar, as well as the presidential aides. The special advisor on media and publicity to the president, Mr. Femi Adesina, says President Buhari will address Nigerians on Monday, August the 21st. Meantime, the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, on Tuesday directed that payments by oil marketing companies for port charges to the Nigerian Ports Authority, that's NPA, as well as the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, NIMASA, can now be accommodated in its official forex window through Form A. The Apex Bank also instructed authorized dealers to accept the request for the payments from oil marketing companies and channel to the Central Bank of Nigeria foreign exchange window. Research analyst at AfriInvest, Obiano Junsofo, joins us now by phone for some analysis on these stories. Obiano Junso, good to have you this weekend. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Right, let's begin with the latest news in town, and that's the return of our President, Muhammadu Buhari. In terms of confidence, what does this mean for the economy and for the securities markets generally?
All right, thank you. Well, it's good news, even more fantastic news that our president is back. I mean, he is well and is also in good health. For the market, we believe that the impact is going to be neutral. This is given that while the president was away, the market did not see a vacuum, all thanks to the vice president, Yemi Osinbajo, who did a joint effort with our president while he was away. We are sure that the vice president will have briefed him on all that is happening in the economy. So until the president addresses the nation, hopefully on Monday, then we can start to see some sort of market reaction if there is any need for. However, for the economy, expectations would be on sound leadership and sincerity in leading the country.
You talked about market reaction. What kind of reaction do you see the equities specifically that deals more with the economy, coming up with, knowing that, yes, it's been on a trajectory for a while, but suddenly this week we saw a 3.35% decline in that's a week-to-date performance now in terms of the benchmark index?
Well, yes, you're quite right. The equities market experienced a downturn as of this week that closed. I mean, it was down 3.3%. However, we attribute that to profit taking by investors. If you notice, for the first few trading sessions, it was led by Dangote Cement. They dragged the market down. However, it rebounded on Thursday due to an uptick in Dangote Cement. For the coming week, we expect the market to experience some bargain hunting. However, this will be on the back of profit taking as seen last week, and not in relation to the news that our president is back. I mean, he's yet to address the nation. So until he does that, then we can start to see some sort of reactions from the market.
Let's now look at the directive given by the central bank during the week in terms of making payments of port charges by oil companies, available now to NIMASA as well as the NPA. Now, this is also going to be taking place through the FX window, the official FX window of the CBN. And of course, it applies to a lot of the oil and gas companies listed on the NSE. What do you make of this?
Well, yeah, it's quite some good news. But before I delve into the impact on that on the equity market, I'll just give a brief background. I mean, ideally, most monetary authorities, they keep a keen eye on the exchange rate in order to ensure price stability and exchange rate stability.
Right.
So what we've seen in Nigeria is that in order to, in a response to the downturn the economy witnessed in 2016, the CBN has resulted to the operation of about 6 or 7 FX windows in order to cater to market participants.
Right.
As such, we've seen some sort of convergence in market rates. So this news is actually going to be impactful, most especially to the downstream oil and gas companies. I mean, for a while, these companies have had to source FX from the parallel market, and this has actually affected their books. I mean, if you look at the year-to-date performance of most of these companies, investors have actually turned a blind eye to oil and gas companies and actually taking interest in the banking, industrial, and even the insurance and consumer goods stocks. So, however, I think this is some sort of aid the CBN is giving to these market participants in order to pay port charges, and hence we expect the impact to be seen in their books. But it will be good to know the size of these port charges so we can analyze how this is actually going to affect performance.
Okay, Obianuju, before I let you go, let's quickly delve into the earnings, the major earning that we received this week, and that's the earnings of GT Bank, yes. A top stock, a major peak in the Nigerian capital stock markets, basically. The gross earnings went up by 2%. Profits after tax and profit before tax inch higher, 16.6% and 18% respectively. How would you say that the interest rate environment supported the top line despite conservative loan growth that we've seen in recent time on that stock?
Okay, yes, you're quite right. Gross earnings was up marginally 2%. So looking at the components that contributed to that, we have interest income. We saw it rise over 50% on a year-on-year basis. I mean, interest income constitutes of interest from loans and from loans that they give out. However, for that period, you notice that their loan book actually declined. So you also see that interest from investment securities also rose during the period, hence the 50% increase in interest income. Also, for interest expense, we saw that GT, they were able to keep it in moderation. It grew just about 18% on a year-on-year basis, which led to over 60% increase in net interest income. However, what we noticed was that non-interest income, which is one of the other components that contributes to gross earnings, declined significantly during the period. This was, we note that last year, GT could rely on FX gains. However, this was not so this year. But most importantly, what boosted bottom line was actually a reduction, over 80% reduction in impairment charges. However, this was due to a high base effect from 2016 as GT Bank, as of last year, took advantage of the one-off forbearance that was given to banks. Hence, this trickled down to, I think, about 16% year-on-year growth in bottom line to 83.7 billion naira.
Right.
Yeah.
Obianuju Nsofo, thank you so much for this fantastic analysis. Obianuju Nsofo is a research analyst at Afri Invest.